Welcome to our Sunday InsightLA sitting group. I have been away for 4 Sundays, which is a long time. So I'm really happy to be back with you all. And I'm speaking to you from Marin County, from San Rafael, from the this place, Marin County, was the home of the indigenous tribes of the coast, Miwok, Native Americans, and there were 12 of those tribes, and there are still descendants of the Miwok ancestors here in Marin County. So this is where, excuse me, this is where Jack's house is, and we just go back and forth between LA and here. So as some of you know, I've been out having some surgery and all is well. I just want to reassure you about that. I think you know already. I have posted very publicly about this journey on Instagram and Facebook. That's not really true. I don't post. I give the content and somebody posts for me. I'm sure it's not that hard to post, but I don't even want to know how actually. And I never really paid much attention to social media before my brother died and before I got diagnosed with cancer. So I decided to be public about things that are often hidden, like our personal grief and losses, that we can feel a lot of shame or blame or other feelings get mixed in with the sadness, right? Or about naming women's reproductive organs publicly. I had uterine cancer. That means I talk about my uterus, and we don't usually talk about our private parts, right? So, yeah, if anybody wants to know more about everything that happened and the ceremony that I offered and things, just how I've gone through it, you can look at on Instagram. It's Trudy_Goodman. I don't know if it has an @ sign before it or not. That's how much I know. Trudy_Goodman. And on Facebook, there's a few accounts. It's kind of confusing. As I said, I don't go on there, but there's one where you'll see all the more updated stuff. And so this morning, I actually want to talk to you after we meditate together about some of the benefits of the practice, especially the loving kindness practice, the Brahmavihara practices, and the mindfulness practice that we do together, because I just had a chance to see firsthand what the benefits of these practices are when we hit a rough patch in our lives, in our experience. And so first we're going to meditate together. So I want to invite you, for those of you who may be new to InsightLA or to this sitting group, we just divide it roughly into thirds. We sit together with some guided meditation and some silence mixed in, which will happen now. And then we have some teaching and then some chance for dialogue and conversation with each other. So please arrange yourself and your body in whatever position you're most comfortable in, to just be quiet and still for approximately a half hour. And I like to begin by taking 3 deep breaths, intentionally deep breaths, breathing in and releasing. Taking a warm, deep breath in that can flow into any area of tension in the body. And then releasing that tension completely as you breathe out. And one more time. And so this morning, following Jocelyn and Thomas's teachings on equanimity, I want to invite you to do some loving kindness meditation if that appeals to you this morning. Equanimity balances all the other beautiful places that the heart can dwell in love, in kindness and compassion, in joy, and in serenity, which is the balancing one. So just inviting you to call to mind a place where you have felt safe and comfortable and well. And just imagining this place, what it looks like, what it smells like, maybe salt air or the smell of pine needles or grass. Feeling a breeze, if there's any breeze in this place. And just receiving that feeling of safety, of relaxation, of goodness that you find here. And looking to the left, what do you see? And then looking to the right in your imagination, what do you see? And then returning to center and relaxing back into just enjoying being here. And when you notice the mind wandering away from this scene, just come back to the felt sense of safety, of goodness. And if you like to use some loving kindness phrases, you can just drop them gently in to your loving awareness. And if not, just stay with the feeling of gentle safety, kindness, peace and contentment. Some phrases are, may I be safe and protected from inner and outer harm. And if it feels hard to offer the blessings of love and kindness and well wishes to yourself, just receive them from me. May you feel safe and protected from inner and outer harm. May you live with the ease of an open heart. May you be truly happy and deeply peaceful. May you be healthy and strong. And if that's not possible, may you accept the limitations with grace. May you care for yourself joyfully. May your heart be steady through the ups and downs of life. May you have the inner and outer resources you need. May you love your life completely, just as it is. And may I love myself. May you love yourself completely, just the way you are. Just the way I am. And this is an expansive practice. We begin with ourselves and then expand to embrace a special friend, loved one. You can offer some well wishes. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be well. May you be free, free from troubles or worries or suffering. May you be free. And if you have access to a felt sense of safety, of joy, of ease or peace, just radiating, sharing the energy of those really healthy states of mind and heart with someone you care about, a friend, a dear one. And when you're ready, expanding the field of this kind embrace to somebody who's usually invisible to you, somebody you pass at the grocery store, the checkout. Maybe a neighbor that you barely know, a sanitation worker that you see from time to time, just choosing somebody who's ordinarily invisible to you and wishing them that they may be safe and protected. That they may live with ease, be happy and healthy. And then opening our mind arms to include somebody who is difficult. And please don't choose the person who abused you the most in this life or the politician you most resent or whatever. Just maybe pick somebody who annoys you, or it could be a family member, a coworker. But someone for whom these feelings of being irritated or aggravated, they just get under your skin. And wishing them well is to free your own heart from the unpleasant emotions. Wishing that these beings too will be safe and protected. Live with ease and enjoy good health and happiness. This is important. This frees our own hearts. And you can also offer this good energy to the difficult parts of yourself. The parts that you have trouble being patient and kind with, that frustrate or exasperate you. You can invite these parts to receive some loving attention. You don't have to love these parts, just to free your heart from resenting them, wanting them to go away, from aversion and ill will. And then opening our mind arms even wider to expand, to embrace all beings everywhere without exception. And it can be all living beings, it can be beings you loved who have passed away, four-legged beings, all creatures who swim and crawl and fly and hop and jump and all those who are near, all those who are far. All those who are born or yet to be born. May all beings, and that includes us in this circle of kindness and love, may all beings be safe and protected. May all beings live in peace and harmony. Whatever other well wishes you feel moved to offer, just knowing that if all beings were truly safe and protected and could live with ease, how much more peaceful and tender life might be on this earth. So once again, welcome everybody. And today I would like to share some teachings about, as I mentioned, the benefits of metta. And I learned something that you may or may not be aware of, which is that today is National Lighthouse Day. And National Lighthouse Day is a day that our national park, the National Parks Organization helps to preserve and protect historic lighthouses on our coasts, like the lighthouse on Alcatraz Island, which I guess it's part of Golden Gate National Park, or National Recreation Area, it's called. And that was the first lighthouse on the Pacific coast. And it's been in use for 150 years. And I think the image of a lighthouse is really perfect for the image of the Dharma, of the Brahma Viharas, these beautiful qualities of the heart that when we cultivate them in ourselves, we really can shine them out as a beacon to others and just as a lighthouse protects ships from running aground and having an accident, I feel like the Brahma Viharas can protect us too from, metaphorical shipwrecks in our lives, in our hearts. Excuse me. So yeah, National Lighthouse Day. And we're living in a time when I think there's just so much anxiety, and we're hearing about the mental health crises in our world. Lots of worries about war and racism and climate change and political polarization and misinformation and pandemic that goes on and on. All these things make it, I think, much more important for us to find love and joy and kindness and serenity wherever we can. And as the Buddha said, and I really love this quote, live in happiness, free from hostility, even among those who are hostile. Abide in joyfulness, free from distress, even among those who are miserable. Abide in happiness, free from agitation and busyness, even in the midst of those who are busy. And I would say kind of that frantic busyness is what's being pointed to here. Joyfully we live, those who cling to nothing. Well, it's really hard to cling to nothing when, I don't know about you, but my mind just clings. It's really just about seeing that clinging and being aware of it, and therefore not having it be in charge of what we say and do. But this teaching is important because for me, it helps alleviate some of the almost survivor guilt that I experience when I'm having, plenty to eat and a place to live and all the comforts that most of us do enjoy in this life. And I pass encampments of people who are living without those comforts, for example. And it doesn't help anybody for us to not live in joy, in happiness, free from hostility, even among those who are hostile. So even when somebody may be spouting things that I have immense aversion to hearing, I don't really have to argue or get in a fight with them. I just have to listen. And that's huge right there. But the benefits of metta that I want to talk about are very specific, and they are 11 benefits that the Buddha named, that that we study, and that we don't need any kind of perfect life or perfect world or perfect anything to practice being friendly and loving. And we're not practicing in order to get somebody to love us, or there's so many reasons we might want to do this. We practice for our own peace and well-being, understanding that our own peace and well-being affects everybody around us and makes us more able to succeed at whatever tasks we are engaged in. And the fortunate part is that, it's not selfish to offer loving kindness to yourself. It's axiomatic that whatever benefits us benefits our community, benefits others. So the Buddha lists these 11 benefits, which I will share with you. And the first one is you sleep well. When you go to bed feeling loving or friendly toward yourself, you'll be relaxed and you'll sleep well. So after my surgery, because I was posting things, after my surgery, my metta practice before bed, because you have cobwebs from the anesthesia, you can't concentrate, it's just your mind isn't really able to focus or anything much. I learned how to go on my Instagram account, and I would look at all the sweet comments. People would just post hearts, or they'd say, we're with you, or they'd say, feel better, or just simple things, but And I would just put a little heart by each one of them, appreciating each. That was my metta practice before bed. And I do think it really helped me sleep better. Um, yeah, you don't usually sleep so well right away. You're not that comfortable, but I'm very lucky that I wasn't too uncomfortable. I was able to get off all the pain meds after 2 days because all those things, Tylenol and ibuprofen, and they gave me something called tramadol, it just made me so nauseous. So I was lucky to not have to take all that or any of that actually. So the first benefit is you sleep well. The second one is you wake up feeling well. And when you get a good night's sleep, you wake up feeling rested. You're more optimistic. You know what it's like when you don't sleep and when you do sleep, right? When I don't sleep, I can cry at the drop of a hat. I feel impatient more easily. I have to eat food all day to keep my energy up. But when you sleep well, you can connect with your neighbors, with your friends, even strangers, in a genuine, present way. And you feel, of course, more fresh and joyful. The third one is you're not likely to have nightmares. And it's true that if you practice loving kindness, even, just 10 minutes before you go to sleep, or if you wake up, just doing some loving kindness practice to help you fall asleep, that you probably won't have nightmares. In fact, your dreams will become sweeter. I have experienced this. I've often told the story of being in a metta retreat, a 6-week-long silent metta retreat at the Insight Meditation Society in Barre, Massachusetts. And I was aware, I had learned some of the metta practices from a Burmese meditation teacher named U Pandita, who taught that really when you're in retreat, you should only sleep for 4 hours. That's not much sleep. I could manage 5 hours because with all the meditation, it sort of replaces some of the restfulness of sleep. But 4 hours was a lot. So I was in this metta retreat and I had a dream that U Pandita came and he sat on the edge of my bed, and he's a monk, this would never happen. He sat on the edge of my bed and he very gently shook my shoulder and he said, "You've slept long enough. You've slept for 4 hours." But he said it in the sweetest voice. And I was able to get up and practice. Now, I'm not going to say that happened every night. But you're not only less likely to have nightmares, you're more likely to have sweet and supportive dreams. Why? Because you're practicing developing a foundation of kind presence for whatever comes up. And that's why. So that's number 3. Number 4 is your body relaxes and your face is joyful. Look, our bodies reflect our minds, right? And our minds reflect our bodies. It's very hard when you're in chronic pain to, paste a smile on your face and look all serene and joyful. But when you really do care and feel some friendliness toward all beings, that shows on your face. And people know, we have sonar. It's not necessarily conscious, but we have sonar for recognizing what's called external mindfulness, recognizing the mind states of others. But when your face is relaxed and you honestly feel friendliness in your heart, then people relax around you and they enjoy being with you. I remember when my daughter was having some issues in 4th grade, counseling her, just act as if you like so-and-so and be friendly. And you'll probably start to like them, actually, if you can be friendly. But if you're friendly, they are going to be more likely to like you and want to be your friend. This advice goes for us at all ages, too. The 5th benefit of metta is even animals and celestial beings feel drawn to you. So when you practice metta, you generate a kind of energetic field around you. And that energetic field is peaceful. And and children, especially little kids and animals, they tune into this energy and they pick it up. And you can see it. I think I went. I think I've told you this story. I went once when I was in my 20s, and there was a fortune teller in Boston named Gardenia at the Boston Tea Room, and we would go and consult with. I went once and consulted with Gardenia, and you'd take your tea, you would drink a cup of tea, and you could put milk and sugar in it or lemon, or you drink the tea, and then she would look at the tea leaves and read your fortune. And I'll always remember, I went because there was some guy I liked. I wanted to know if he would like me back or whatever. And she looked at the tea leaves and she said, "Dogs like you." And it was very, very, it wasn't really something I was longing to find out. Dogs like you. But it's true that we do create a field, and it can be a field of benefaction, a field of friendliness, or a field of, don't talk to me, don't talk to me right now. And so this practice helps us generate a field that is more welcoming and embracing and friendly to the lives around us and to ourselves. So the sixth benefit is spirits will protect you. And I think, maybe you've had some sense of being protected or guided by your ancestors or by beings who are no longer in their bodies. It's, however you conceive of this, it's recognizing a kind of grace that sometimes infuses our life, that we sometimes get to experience, and that is a source of great peace, actually. And whether it's literally true that my loved ones who've passed away are looking out for me in some way, or there's some other energy that confers this sense of being either protected or loved or guided, I don't know, actually. But the Buddha included this among one of the benefits of practicing loving kindness. And I remember before the surgery, when we were in it's actually the post-anesthesia part of the hospital, that unit, but that's where you go before the surgery too. And then you come back and your same nurse takes care of you. Before the surgery, Jack was just saying, "I feel Ram Dass is here." Like he felt that sense of Ram Dass being there. I was actually not very spiritually attuned except to joy before the surgery. My focus was on just enjoying the care, the attention, and having some fun with the situation. And those of you who went on the Instagram, you may have seen my surgery was a total hysterectomy, and it was assisted by a robot. And when I went into the operating room, I wanted to meet my robot. And they said, "Do you want a picture with your robot?" Which I have and posted. But what was so cool is that everybody in the operating room was a woman. I had never had that experience, although I have had to be in operating rooms before in my life. Everybody was it was an all-woman team in the OR, which also felt like some kind of protection to me. Number 7, fire, poisons, and weapons will not harm you. And this is one that's often seen as kind of archaic, like, what does that literally mean? Does it really mean, that if I get really, really good at metta and you stab or shoot me, I won't feel it and it won't hurt me? If I get caught in a forest fire, I won't burn up. What does it mean? So I think we have to remember that a lot of these stories in the in the sutras, in the ancient teachings, are symbolic, they're mythic. And so to look at it more as, say, the fires of greed, anger, and delusion, the poisons, the things that the strategies of disconnection that that really poison our relationships and our experience of life. Always wanting more from somebody who's giving to us. One of the things I also experience so often in couples is that somebody would ask for something that they wanted. Let's say, it's easier to take the example of the woman that maybe, think of me sometimes, bring me some flowers, right? And then when the other partner does it, they're just like, well, you just did that because I asked for it. Wait a minute. If you ask for something and that person gives it to you, that's a cause for celebration. It doesn't, it's not like, oh, because I had to ask for it, that makes it no good. No. If I ask you for something and you give it to me, I'm grateful. Thank you. How would you know what I want? You can't read my mind. This is the source of so much trouble in relationships, expecting each other to know and making the assumption that we know when we really don't know. And that's a beautiful beginner's mind practice, to not know or assume we don't know what the people we're very familiar with are thinking or going to say. In the fire sermon, the Aditya Pariyaya Sutra, the Buddha said that these poisons of wanting, more than can be given, or of feeling ill will or hate to the people that cross us or that we don't like what they're doing, or being deluded, just believing misinformation that's harmful, for example, or believing things about ourselves that aren't true at all, or other people. These, he said, are weapons. Like daggers, they can cut your peace, they can slash your peace into pieces. So he's really talking about, mental and verbal weapons. Like we can shoot daggers at each other with our eyes, or that's a nonverbal one, right? Or we can say mean things to cut somebody down to size. That's a verbal dagger. So you don't have to think about literally fire and weapons, and just think more metaphorically or symbolically about this. There's a long story that I'm actually not going to tell you right now. But I'll just quote from one sutra. He says, they quarrel, squabble, and argue with each other, stabbing each other with verbal daggers, saying, this is Dharma and this is not. So you can even, he's talking about the monastics in his community who are fighting over, what is practice and what isn't. Anything can be a source of, anything can poison our experience of life. And so remembering that peace is our greatest happiness, said the Buddha. Number 7, fire, poisons, and weapons will not harm you. And there's lots of stories in the suttas of people who were in dangerous situations, but because of their profound practice of loving kindness, they didn't get hurt. Including the Buddha, who was allegedly charged by an angry elephant. Now you can imagine, right? And who stood and practiced loving kindness, and the elephant just stopped and calmed down. That's some powerful metta. So just being mindful and seeing that any one of our senses can catch fire, right? And lead us to do things that are not helpful or healthy for us or for the people around us. And just being mindful and noticing how different states and emotions affect us, and how do we respond to that? There were times, after my surgery when, mostly I felt so cheerful and upbeat because I was very blessed with a good diagnosis, which I know that Thomas shared with you, or Thomas and Jocelyn, I don't remember which week, but, my diagnosis was very early stage, and So sure, I'll get to be monitored for every 6 months for a couple of years, but it's it's like the best that could have happened and the only treatment I need. But even so, there are moments when your energy is low and the mind sinks too, and it sinks into either worries, or I start to feel that not being able to swim for most of a beautiful summer is, you know, horrible, instead of realizing, wait a minute, there's people who are incarcerated, there's people who are in wars, there's people who did not get a good diagnosis. But I think what I'm just saying is that the practice of metta can lift us up in those moments and kind of help us return to sanity, to gratitude, which always brings some happiness or joy. Number 8, your mind immediately becomes calm. And it's true. If you stick with the practice of loving kindness, you will calm down. It's absolutely true. And here's a good one, number 9. Your complexion brightens. It shows in your face when you're practicing, as I said earlier, when you're practicing friendliness or joy, it's visible on your face. And at first it might be just a little bit, barely, just a trace. But as you keep practicing, you will get happier and happier. And as you get happier, your face, we used to call it the Vipassana facelift, because people would come into the retreat and they would be looking, tired and haggard and everything they had to do to get to the retreat, whatever situations that were difficult that they were in. And then by the end of the week or the 10 days or the 2 weeks or the month or what, however long the retreat was, it didn't have to be a month long, people would start to look radiant, and their faces would glow and their eyes would shine. So this is just, it's just something that can spread through the body, through the mind, and become visible, so that your face looks bright and clear and calm and peaceful. And then the second to the last one is, you will die with a clear mind. And the thought of dying peacefully is very comforting to us, given that we do all need to die. When I got the cancer diagnosis, I said to Jack, hey, I think it's time for us to talk about growing old, way in the future when we grow old, and what kind of plans we're going to have for, do you have an updated will, or what do we want to have happen to us? Do we have a medical director? These kinds of things. It's time to think about that and be aware of it. And, not want to, I said, we don't want to be in the situation where something happens and, oh my gosh, we never thought of it. And as I like to say, this body will be a corpse. It will happen. So given that this is something that's going to happen to us, the idea that we can actually die peacefully, that we can die feeling like we've taken care of as much as we can in this life, that we've resolved the conflicts that can be resolved. They can't all be resolved, but some of them can be. Really, loving kindness practice can make dying itself friendlier for each one of us when we go through this. And that's a gift to everyone around us, of course. Katagiri Roshi, who was one of the first Japanese Soto Zen teachers to come and teach in the West, and who established a Zen center in Minneapolis, when he was dying, he died of cancer, he said to his students, you all just want to watch me and see how I die after all these years of practice. And then he was like joking, I guess, I don't know, I wasn't there. He started like pounding on the covers with his hands, arms, and legs and saying, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. Yes, that's a kind of Zen truth, right? Nobody wants to die, but it doesn't matter. We can have a tantrum when the time comes, or we can practice metta and die more peacefully. And I think deep down, you know, that's what we all want, and that's to die peacefully, to die without confusion, to die with clarity. These are the promises of this practice. Oh, and then there's a story about from the Buddha about Samavati, the wife of a king that Buddha had declared chief among all those who practice metta. He really revered her practice. And she was burned alive while she was leading a metta retreat for women by somebody who was so jealous of the Buddha's favoritism, the way she saw it, not that it was deserved, that she set them all on fire. I know this is a very gory story, but when she lay dying, Samavati declared, "Over many lifetimes, our bodies have been burned over and over again. As you pass from birth to death and back to birth, be mindful." So allegedly her words were so powerful that all 500, that's an expression in the suttas for lots of people. It says all 500 were enlightened, or all 500 women who were dying next to her were inspired to practice metta meditation during their final moments. And of course, the moral of this story is that although their bodies were burned, their minds were free, their hearts were free. I don't want to have that practice, test, or experience, and I don't wish it on any of us, but it's one of those, again, apocryphal stories that we can understand symbolically, that even in a tough situation, we can die in peace. Excuse me, that one was dying with a clear mind. The last one is dying in peace. Yeah, that was dying with a clear mind that's mindful enough to be able to keep practicing. And it says, even at the time of death, even if you haven't gotten enlightened and you haven't understood all the highest spiritual truths, that you can still go to a realm of great peace. And this peaceful mental state that gets generated by the loving kindness practice, it says it will take us to a heavenly realm. But you know what? I say we're already in that heavenly realm when we're in a peaceful state, a serene state of mind and heart. We're there already. And so you can understand this, again, figuratively or literally, but it's saying that you can be reborn in a heavenly realm if you practice metta, whether your understanding spiritually is super profound or not. And I like to take it more metaphorically and just take it as an encouragement to practice loving kindness whenever we can, and to understand that when we die to our experiences of greed, hate, and delusion, when we let those go and they don't control our minds and hearts, when we die to those experiences, we are in this moment reborn in a heavenly realm of peacefulness, that we have freed our hearts from a conflict. So these are the 11 benefits of metta that I hope will encourage you to practice and to receive the practice too. And so now is really our time to have some conversation or exchange. Time for your questions and whatever responses I might have. Are we having small groups today, Ava? Thank you for being our moderator today.
Sure. Yes, we will have a small group as usual after the main session.
Right. So again, those of you who may be new, just know that there's a approximately 10-minute bio break. You don't sign off the Zoom. There's just a brief break, and then the Zoom technology puts you in small groups where you can share your practice and talk about what's going on and your understanding of things, and just learn with each other. So I encourage you to take part in the small groups after this this part of our Sunday sitting group is over. But for now, if you have anything that you would like to share or ask about, just raise your hand. You can use the reaction button to the right bottom of your screen. And Ava will call on you, help you unmute yourself, or if I see you first, I will. But don't be shy. Whatever's on your mind is definitely going to be useful to somebody else. Nick, you want to unmute yourself?
Good morning or good afternoon. I could really relate to what you were talking about. I had knee replacement surgery about 3.5 months ago, and at times it was just sheer hell. It still is painful and uncomfortable. However, I just found you so inspiring this morning. And, it's like your face when you talk about it, that it uplifts your face from looking at the Zoom. That was just so clear looking at your face this morning. And that made me just feel so happy.
Thank
Uh,
you.
the other thing, some months ago, you mentioned an author, a British psychiatrist, Ian McGilchrist. What do you like best about him?
I think I feel some affection for anybody who looks deeply into the human mind and tries to understand the brain and our psychology and how that meshes with our spiritual longing
Yeah.
and experiences, and so I think that his way of kind of organizing, looking at how the mind and brain function was
Mhm.
just interesting to me. It's just one way, but it spoke to me at that time. How about you? What did you find interesting about it, if anything?
Well, that one that he makes the whole thing like a story, that he talks about scientific things in such a story-like way, and
Yes.
uh, and it has a much more explanatory power to me.
Yes.
Um, Particularly also about the fact that we're like really kind of hiding our right brain experiences,
Yes.
and so, I've been going through the book on and off for months now, and there's so much. I just love it.
A lot, yeah, there's a lot in there, and sort of resurrecting the right brain from its maybe lesser
Yes,
status is one of the big, yeah, one of the things I really liked also, Nick. Um,
right.
yeah, very much. And I also want to say, surgery in the joints, the knee, the shoulder, it's way more painful than what I had.
Uh,
So I just, to your having to go through that.
Thank you, and thank you.
Yeah. So, Gabby and then Michelle.
Trudy, just welcome back, first of all.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing on Instagram, because I'm on your Instagram too.
Oh, thank you.
And, just being so,
Thank you for your comments if you made one.
yeah, I think it's great to be so open to talk about the topic. And even this morning I was waking up and I'm like, how many other women to come? And I always wish there was something, right, to really screen us and show it sooner than later. Because there's such a short amount of span. And I feel so blessed that it got detected early, and also for you, because I carry this sign I got on the 99-cent store. Blessed.
Oh, beautiful.
I keep my medication on top of it every morning, because I hate taking it every day for 5 years, but I got 2 more to go. I still gotta count my blessings every day that I'm still around, but I also feel for the woman of that still haven't been diagnosed, because we don't know. It's something we carry inside and it's not detected until the symptoms show up. So there's so much more to. We need more advancements in this field. Hopefully, somebody can figure it out to scan it sooner than later, but also be in commonality with other women that have gone through that loss, because it was a grieving process. And that week where you have to wait for the results, it's treacherous. I got a chance to meet Sandra O'Hara before my surgery, and she walked me through a process, and I saw myself in an ocean that was very turbulent before the surgery. And after she did her session, she told me, and we did alms, and she gave me the goddess of Kali, so to do Om Kali Namaha after surgery, and I wanted to thank her again. And last year I found out she passed away on her sleep, and she's on the other side, but I know she's present somewhere. She's a very interesting person to meet, medium, well-known medium, and unfortunately I didn't get a chance to see her again in person. But if I could talk to her, I would love to again, maybe if I had that gift, right, to talk to the other side, which I don't, but maybe I do.
Try it,
I
Gabby.
do. Maybe I do. There's times that I do. I sometimes walk around the forest and I'm like, Sandra, if you're out there, just want to say hi. Or
Yeah, that's
I
great.
do miss her.
And another reason that I posted, and I think other women have, I saw a lot of them on TikTok, but I haven't really, I don't know how to really do that yet. But is the idea of diagnosis and earlier diagnosis, because that's one of the problems with shame is people, you put off, people afraid of the doctor, they're afraid of what they might hear and put it off. So
Mhm.
I really wanted everybody to know, if you have a weird period or spotting, or, don't just write it off as perimenopause or whatever. Just go get checked out. And also, what you were saying about you wish people would know more. I am reading a book. I heard this woman speak on the radio and I forget her name, but her book is called Vagina Obscura. And
Mm.
she wanted to write a book all about all this information about the vagina and the women's reproductive organs. And then she found out that so little was actually known, that the book became a kind of investigation into who's doing research, what do people know. That's why the title, the hidden vagina, that people don't, it's, I'm so attuned to this now because I keep reading things. It's like, well, we don't really know, blah, 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 blah. There are so few women scientists, and there's been so little attention paid to this, that I recommend her book. It's really fun. I was very ignorant about my own body inside in certain ways. I didn't even know that the cervix was attached to the uterus, and maybe some of you didn't know that either. Um, anyway, I'm just, you know, being aware in all realms is a good thing. So you might enjoy that book too, Gabby.
Are you back?
Ava, it's called Vagina Obscura, and I forget her name. She's a science writer but I heard her on the radio. She was terrific. Made me buy the book. You can post that. So then Barbara Streisand is next, aka Michelle.
Hi, sweetheart. Welcome back. I've missed you. I'm not on social media, so I just spiritually sent you a lot of love. I want to share with the group that because I've had, and I'm not going to go into detail, millions of surgeries, some of them close to death and some near dying experiences, I decided it was time to do my end of life writings and who I'm leaving to. And after weeks and weeks of putting everything together with the help of my friend, by the way, Trish Jostler, who runs an organization called On Bright Wings. She runs a death cafe and she helps you with all of this. I decided I wanted a green burial. In Santa Monica, green burial was $25,000, which I don't have. But Joshua Tree, I found for I think $3,500, I could get a green burial. I gave a deposit, and I have to share this with you. He promised me he wouldn't put me next to any Trumpers. He promised me that. And then I got natural rock, and on the rock I put, "Here lies Michelle Weber." And I was going to say who was nice to everyone, even Trumpers, but my daughter said, no, you cannot put his name on your gravestone. So I said, who was kind to everyone, even Republicans. My assistant said, "May she rest in peace." And I said, no, may she rock and roll in heaven. That will be my gravestone at Joshua Tree. And I urge you, no matter what age you are, because it took me months, passwords and phone numbers and who's going to call who. And I'm a therapist. Who's going to call my clients? Every night I'd wake up with something else to do. But once it was done, talk about feeling some peace. And my daughter couldn't even talk about it, but she will walk into my place and know exactly where everything is and how to handle it. So I wanted to share that. Thank you for being back. Trudy, I've missed you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for this information. And maybe you could say it again so that Ava can put it in the chat.
Yes, or guys, you can reach out to me. I've helped so many people. It's just Michelle Weber at me.com. I'll put that in the chat. I'm so happy to help you because it was such a relief. You just get it all done in a certain order. There's forms you can follow, and it was overwhelming, but I took weeks to do it, but it's done. Thank you.
Good for you. Good for you. Okay, so Lana is next. Can you unmute yourself? Lana? Maybe you didn't mean to put your hand up. Okay, so it says Martin. Is that your name, or is that the person whose Zoom you're on, Heather?
This is a Heather.
I know.
I'm on Martin's computer.
Okay.
I just wanted to say thank you for sharing your personal journey. I had hysterectomy also when I was 49. And it was afterwards we found out that it was unnecessary. And I made a decision out of fear of it might be cancer. But anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk. So thank you for sharing your stories. And it's really, I'm sure it gives a lot of encouragement for many other people. But what I want to talk about today is how the Metta practice today was very timely and helpful to me, because I have this tendency of hanging on to little things very literally. Things that may not be a big deal to most other people, because I come from a very from the culture of right or wrong. and honest, dishonest, that sort of thing, right? So even though the dishonesty is not something malicious and it's not a big deal, but if somebody makes a statement an hour before and an hour later, and then they're contradictory, or somebody says something and then doesn't carry on with an action an hour later, for example, then there's a contradiction or inconsistency between the words and the action. I have a really, really hard time just glossing over, and I hold on to that, and I say, you're dishonest, you're not making sense, and then I hold on to these things, and then I become very, very stressed out. And just most recently, I have a friend, Barbara, whom I talk to a lot of my personal stuff with. And then she says, my boyfriend is very easygoing. And I really thought about it very carefully. And I thought, what is it that makes me not easygoing? Why am I holding on to these things? And of course, this is how I was brought up and how I lived my life, all my life. But it has come to a point where it's just too hard for me. I don't want to do that anymore. So your guide today, Metta practice, really, really, I thought it was really timely. And I don't know, I just wanted to share that with you, and maybe your wisdom personally too. If you can recommend that, I would appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, it's painful, Heather, but it's really good news that you are sad about this, that you feel how unpleasant it is for you, and that you are really longing to live a different way where these little things can be in the context of a wider awareness. It's not like the little things aren't going to bother you, they will. But what happens is the mind kind of collapses, the attention, you know what I mean? It collapses and focuses on them in a certain way. And that's what you can do something about, where you can just kind of expand. It's almost like a physical thing, like you're removing your attention from that little inconsistency, or perhaps somebody was being a little dishonest and fudging, or whatever it was that was sticking for you and unpleasant, and just to pull your attention back. Like I say in meditation instructions, sometimes taking that backward step. Yeah, just that, and taking a breath and just getting into your body, into a felt sense of, you can feel the tension, where is it? Are you feeling it right now?
Yes.
So where do you feel it in your body, Heather? Just close your eyes and take a minute and check in.
Right here.
Right here. And what does it feel like? What are the sensations? This is like mindfulness out loud. Just naming the sensations that you feel. Because I guarantee you're having the courage to talk about this openly is going to help other people for sure, because this is not a unique problem that you're describing. This is a problem that we see writ over the globe. People can't let go and forgive, and instead countries are traumatized, and then revenge, and then cycles of violence and so forth. But just what do you feel it when you tune into your own sensations in your own heart?
I'm having a hard time finding a word. And this is my experience, when I'm in therapy.
Yeah.
My therapist asked me the same thing. And then I have a really, really hard time verbalizing it. I can't think of a word.
If I say a word, would it correspond to a feeling? Like if I said tightness, or if I said um, tingling, or if I said numbness, or if, does that help you attach a
Yeah,
word?
it's more like tightness.
Tightness, okay. So is the tightness, when you focus on the tightness and you bring attention to it, does it change at all? Does it shift at all? Does it get bigger or
It gets
smaller?
easier. It gets easier.
It does right away? Well, let's do some more then. Focus on it again and notice it got a little easier. It's a little smaller, or maybe loosening up a little bit, maybe a little relaxation. I'm just offering you some words, but they might or might not be useful to you.
It's easier here, but
Yeah.
another thought comes up in my mind. When this is over, I'm going back there.
Yes, you will. But that's just a thought. And the next thought is, but now I know I can go back there too. I can go back into my judgmentalness and hanging on, but I can also go back into breathing into my body. And even if I can't put a word to it, I can feel the sense of release or loosening or opening, or, however you experience it. You can go back to that just like you go back to the habit. That going back to the habit does not take away that you experienced some relief and that you can do that again. Okay? So try
Yeah,
that.
it's so much easier now. Just
Yeah. Yeah, look at you're smiling. Suddenly there's metta on your face.
oh,
Thank you. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much, Heather.
Yeah.
So let's just sit for a minute before we close this part of our time together. Uh, So at the end of a time of study and practicing the teachings together, just take a moment to check in and to notice any benefit, any goodness that arises from your practice. And then we make this kind of imaginative leap and offer the goodness that arises from our practice to all beings everywhere, without exception. We share the merit, we share the goodness, we share the blessings. And rather than take away from our own experience of them, it just makes them bigger and stronger. May we and all beings abide in happiness, free from hostility or hatred, even among those who are hostile or hating. May we abide in joyfulness, free from distress, even among those who are miserable. May we abide in happiness, free from agitation and worry and busyness, in the midst of those who are agitated and busy. May we live joyfully, and may our mindfulness and loving kindness practice help release the clinging that happens. May we cling to nothing in this moment, moment by moment. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for your presence and your practice. And it is a great joy to see you all again. You can unmute, say hi, goodbye. And yeah, go to a small group if you can.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Trudy.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Trudy.
you,
That was great.
Right, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Trudy. It
Appreciate
was perfect. Be safe, everyone. Bye.
Welcome.